everyone, welcome to episode 18 of Spooky and Kooky. This time we're shaking things up a little bit, so you've only got Ellen today. Unfortunately Alice couldn't be here, but she will be back soon, so it's just me going solo, and for that reason I thought I'd do an audio only. So join me on this episode. We are going to take a ride on the infamous mystery of the Mary Celeste. Let's just dive straight in. Imagine a ship found adrift, its cargo untouched, provisions intact, and not a soul on board. The Mary Celeste discovery in 1872 sparked questions that remain unanswered to this day. What caused its captain, crew, and passengers to vanish without a trace? Step into the shadows of maritime history as we unravel one of the world's most tantalizing mysteries. The ship's construction and early history were rocky from the start. Built in 1861 at Spencer's Island, Nova Scotia, Canada, the ship was originally launched as the Amazon. The maiden voyage proved ill-fated as its captain succumbed to pneumonia and passed away at a very young age. Over the years, it ran into multiple troubles, including a collision and even a fire. In 1868, the Amazon was purchased by American Richard W. Haynes, who rechristened it the Mary Celeste, meaning Heavenly Mary or Mary of Heaven, in an attempt to evade import tax. Following this, the ship changed ownership multiple times, ultimately becoming part of a group that included Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs, the sixth captain of the Mary Celeste in 11 years. Though the ship's name had changed, the tragedy surrounding it continued. The Mary Celeste was a sturdy brigantine, 31 metres long with a cargo capacity of 282 tons. Its captain, Benjamin Briggs, was highly experienced and known for his integrity. He was a family man and made adjustments to the ship in order to take his wife and children with him in comfort. Joining him on his first and only voyage on the Mary Celeste were his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and 7 crew, all reputedly competent and trustworthy. Briggs also had a 7-year-old son named Arthur, though as he was halfway through his school year, it was decided that it would be best to leave him in the care of relatives. On November 7th, 1872, the Mary Celeste set sail from New York City with 1,701 barrels of industrial-strength alcohol, destined for Genoa, Italy. Alcohol was one of the most potentially dangerous cargo to carry aboard a ship because if not properly vented, flammable fumes can build up. To reduce the likelihood of any potential fires or explosions, the barrels were laid on their side with pieces of wood placed between each one to prevent rolling. Departing 8 days behind the Mary Celeste with a cargo of petroleum bound for the same destination was the Dei Gratia. This ship was very similar in build to that of the Mary Celeste and sailed under the command of Captain David Morehouse. From the very beginning of their voyage, they faced relentless rough seas and stormy weather that persisted throughout the journey. They kept battened down with all hatches firmly secure as the crew were thrown about inside the ship. This was the very same stormy conditions in which the Mary Celeste had also sailed through just days prior. On the afternoon of December 5th, Captain Morehouse's gaze fixed on distant sails, creeping steadily within 5 miles of the port bow. He raised his glass to study the vessel, its deck abandoned, its helm lifeless. The sails hung in disarray, and the ship meandered across the waves like a lost soul. With a sense of heavy foreboding, the captain knew something was dreadfully amiss. The crew of the Dei Gratia shouted into the silence, their attempts to hail the ghostly ship swallowed by relentless winds. Finally, Captain Morehouse commanded his first mate, second mate, and third crew member to take the rowboat and investigate further. The Dei Gratia edged closer, and when the ship was finally within reach, sailors rowed toward it and climbed aboard, their boots thudding softly on the deserted deck. The silence was unnerving. There was no sign of life, not even the ship's cat. The sails hung in disarray, ragged and tattered, some appearing to have been hastily pulled down in the throes of chaos. A portion of the railing on the port side was missing, along with the longboat, yet the pumps remained in perfect condition. Below deck, 3.5 feet of water sloshed within the holds, a troubling sight mirrored by the sodden cabin interiors. Many of the windows of the deck houses had been sealed with boards and canvas, evidence of an attempt to brace against relentless storms. And yet, the skylight above the cabin stood propped open, a clear source of the rainwater that had soaked the interior. The captain's cabin aboard the Mary Celeste held an unsettling stillness. The beds had been slept in but remained unmade, a stark anomaly, as Sarah would never leave them unattended for long. This chilling detail suggested that the crew had abandoned the ship hastily, likely in the early morning after waking. Even more haunting, the faint impression of 2-year-old Sophia could still be seen on the mattress. Almost all the personal belongings of the captain and crew remained aboard, untouched. Provisions of food and water were ample, enough to last the journey and beyond. The ship's logbook was last updated on November 24th, 10 days before its discovery, yet the slate, a temporary chalkboard for jotting down daily events before they were officially recorded, held the beginnings of an entry for November 25th. As the captain and mates of the Dei Gratia deliberated over their next steps, their thoughts drifted less towards the vanished crew and more towards the tantalising prospect of a substantial salvage award. After all, the Mary Celeste carried a valuable cargo. The first mate was confident that the Mary Celeste was almost in pristine condition and could swiftly be prepared to sail once more. Captain Morehouse agreed and entrusted him, along with 2 other crew members, to navigate the ship back. Within a few hours, the first mate and his men had restored the Mary Celeste to operational form, pumping out the water and utilising spare sails found on board. They embarked on their journey mere hours after the Dei Gratia, charting a course to Gibraltar. However, the logs for the Mary Celeste were kept up to date during this journey, and the first mate inadvertently wiped the final notes from November 25th off of the chalkboard, leaving its final message a mystery. For a skeleton crew of just 3 men to restore a derelict ship at sea, navigate it through 600 miles, including a stretch of stormy weather, and deliver the Mary Celeste and her cargo safely to port in only 1 more day than the fully operational Dei Gratia was an extraordinary achievement. Upon arrival, the Mary Celeste was promptly seized as authorities launched an investigation into the fate of her missing crew, while the Dei Gratia's crew provided testimony to support their claim for salvage rights. Just as countless others have pondered over the past 150 years, the investigators were baffled by the inexplicable abandonment of a perfectly seaworthy vessel in the middle of the ocean, with no signs of conflict or peril. Suspecting foul play, the Mary Celeste was searched from top to bottom. Among the discoveries was a sword tucked beneath Captain Brigg's bed, its blade sheathed but bearing what was believed to be traces of blood. However, chemical testing soon revealed no evidence of blood on either the sword or the deck. The blade, as it turned out, was simply tarnished with rust. Countless theories have emerged over the years to explain the mystery of the Mary Celeste and its vanished crew, yet none offer definitive answers. One enduring suggestion, even raised during the initial investigation, was murder. Could the ship's owners have orchestrated a sinister plot, hiring the crew to eliminate Captain Briggs and his family for the insurance payout? Yet, no sign of a struggle were found. No evidence emerged to support this claim, and the crew's belongings remained aboard, untouched. Another speculation cast suspicion on the Dei Gratia. Could her crew have sailed to the Azores, intercepted the Mary Celeste, and slaughtered all aboard to claim the lucrative salvage reward? Such a scheme falters on a key point. The Dei Gratia was a slower vessel and departed 8 days later than the Mary Celeste, making this scenario impossible. Some have even wondered if the Briggs family themselves were complicit in the scheme. But this is equally unlikely. They would never have abandoned their 7-year-old son and left him behind. Could pirates have boarded the ship? Well, if that was so, then why were there no evidence of signs of struggle? And why would all 1,701 barrels of alcohol remain accounted for? Natural disasters have also been considered as potential explanations for the fate of the Mary Celeste, with theories ranging from underwater earthquakes to water spouts striking the vessel. Such events could have caused rapid flooding, inducing panic among the crew and prompting them to abandon ship. However, these events are instantaneous, either completely destroying the ship in an instant, or they will pass quickly and leave the crew to realise that, whilst they may be taking on water, they're not sinking, leaving no reason to abandon the ship. The mystery has also given rise to a myriad of paranormal theories that attempt to explain the Mary Celeste's fate. Some suggest that the ship was cursed or haunted, with spirits tied to its troubled past as the Amazon, or souls of those who have died on earlier voyages lingering aboard. This notion is fueled by the misfortunes that plagued the vessel throughout its history. Others have connected the Mary Celeste to the Bermuda Triangle, despite the fact that it was nowhere near the infamous region. These theories delve into time warps, magnetic anomalies, or otherworldly phenomena that could have whisked the crew away to another dimension. In line with seafaring lore, some speculate that the crew fell prey to a monstrous sea creature like that of the Kraken, adding a touch of legend to the tale. More modern theories venture into extraterrestrial territory, suggesting alien abduction as a possible cause, giving the ship's abandonment without any trace of human interference or natural disaster. Maritime folklore also plays its part, with the Mary Celeste often linked to ghost ships, vessels fated to wander the sea forever, their crews mysteriously vanished under supernatural circumstances. Finally, the realm of imagination stretches to the lost city of Atlantis, where enthusiasts propose that psychic forces from submerged civilizations might have drawn the crew away or caused them to disappear entirely. The most widely accepted theory regarding the fate of the Mary Celeste centres around its volatile cargo of 1,701 barrels of alcohol, which were loaded onto the ship in New York after several cool days preceding departure. Once at sea, the Mary Celeste encountered rough storms, which not only battered the vessel, but also caused shifts in atmospheric pressure. By the time the ship had reached the Gulf Stream and neared the European side of the Atlantic, temperatures began to rise, leading to an accumulation of alcohol fumes within the hold. Typically, in good weather, the crew would have opened the cargo hatches to ventilate the hold. However, due to the frequent storms earlier in the journey, it's likely that the hatches had remained sealed for extended periods, just as they had on the Dei Gratia. Log entries from the Mary Celeste even document rumbling noises emanating from the cargo hold, suggesting the crew was aware of the mounting fumes. On the morning of November 25th, Captain Briggs awoke to calmer weather and saw an opportunity to vent the toxic buildup. As the ship released weeks' worth of trapped fumes, it likely groaned and shifted unnervingly, creating panic amongst the crew. With concerns for their safety, particularly for Briggs' 2-year-old daughter, they may have decided to temporarily leave the ship as the fumes dissipated. The bare necessities were collected, and whoever retrieved these hastily left the skylight open. Due to the fact that they thought they'd be off the ship for a mere few hours, some of the sails were simply dropped on deck mid-task. Climbing into the lifeboat, they fastened a rope from their boat to the Mary Celeste to ensure they could return once the danger subsided and get as far away as their 300-foot line would allow. Archival weather reports from the Azores suggest that shortly after the brief calm that morning, rain and wind rapidly intensified. The remaining sails still hoisted on the Mary Celeste would have caught the wind, propelling the ship forward at considerable speed. Meanwhile, the crew on the lifeboat would have been unable to pull themselves back to the ship, battling against the strong winds. Any attempt to catch up with the now accelerating Mary Celeste would have likely resulted in the lifeboat's destruction. Should the crew have chosen to cut loose and attempt a desperate row toward Santa Maria, a nearby island just 6 miles away, their plight would have remained dire. Records indicate the wind would have been blowing forcefully against them, making such an escape impossible. Stranded in the vast ocean, the crew would have faced an impossible situation. In an era where finding a lifeboat adrift was an exceedingly rare occurrence, their fate seemed tragically sealed by the relentless forces of nature. So what became of the Mary Celeste, and what do I consider to be the likely cause? Well, the two, it seems, are intrinsically linked. The crew of the Dei Gratia were paid 20% of the value of the ship, and the Mary Celeste was delivered to Italy under a new captain. After the Celeste returned to New York in September 1873, the owner promptly decided to sell the ship, though her chilling reputation put off many potential buyers. It was eventually sold at a loss to a firm called Cartwright and Harrison. The Mary Celeste was tasked with carrying a shipment of horses around Africa. Most of the horses fell ill and very few survived the journey. That same year, whilst travelling around St. Helena, the captain fell ill, and after docking, he died just hours later. This would make him the third captain to meet his demise while sailing the Mary Celeste. The ship changed owners once again, and the captain and owner cooked up a scheme to intentionally wreck the ship in 1884. The Mary Celeste's final chapter is shrouded in dubious schemes. Its cargo was overinsured, with claims that it was valued at $25,000, which in today's money works out approximately $760,000. Though in reality, it consisted of little more than spoiled liquor and low-value goods. On January 3rd, 1885, Captain Parker revealed his plans to the crew. The ship was to be intentionally wrecked. While many of the crew were unaware of the insurance fraud, they agreed to the scheme, believing the Mary Celeste to be a cursed vessel that deserved destruction. Parker's intention was to run her aground on the rocky cliffs of Turk's Island. Full sails were hoisted as the ship gained speed, the sea spraying violently in her wake, the sails billowing wildly. The crew held on tightly as the Mary Celeste surged onto the reef. Before abandoning the wreck, Parker allowed the crew to take whatever they wished of the ship's alcohol. In their haste to escape, Captain Parker left behind the ship's logbook, a collection of entries dating back to Captain Briggs himself. As the Mary Celeste crumbled into the sea, the logbook was lost forever. The only records we have today are quotations preserved in the transcripts from the investigation into the disappearance of the Mary Celeste crew. Predictably, the insurance firm dispatched an investigator to examine the wreckage. What they uncovered was unmistakable. The cargo was vastly overinsured, consisting of rotten food, worthless trinkets, and spoiled alcohol. The owner, the captain, and the crew were dragged to court and forced to repay the insurance money in order to evade the death penalty. Yet fate had further twists in store. Within 6 months, the 3 men chiefly responsible for the Mary Celeste destruction, the owner, Captain Parker, and the first mate, were all dead. Furthermore, the 2 vessels involved in the investigation and ultimate demise of the Mary Celeste were lost on their subsequent first voyages after the insurance investigation, along with all hands on board. The curse of the Mary Celeste appeared to transcend time, exacting a grim toll on all connected to her. As for the disappearance of Briggs and his crew, while the theory of evacuating the ship to avoid toxic fumes seems plausible, I cannot help but question whether an experienced captain like Briggs would have mistaken the natural groans of a ventilating vessel for signs of imminent danger. Would he really have risked the lives of his wife and child? To me, it seems undeniable that the Mary Celeste carried something far darker than misfortune, a malevolent curse that shadowed her every voyage. Perhaps this curse seeped into the minds of the captain and the crew, compelling them to make irrational choices that led to their tragic fate. As you know by now, I enjoy contemplating the forces beyond our understanding. And so, the mystery of the Mary Celeste remains unsolved. A tale of intrigue, misfortune, and endless speculation. Whether it was toxic fumes, foul play, or a supernatural curse, the truth has been swallowed by the waves, leaving behind only whispers of the past. It's a story that continues to captivate imaginations, drawing us to ponder on the unknown. Perhaps that's the enduring power of the Mary Celeste. Not in what we know, but in what we may never truly understand. I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you believe happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste? Could you unravel this age-old mystery? As always, if you enjoy our content, please do like and subscribe. And hopefully next time you join, it won't just be me, Alice will be here too. But until next time, stay spooky and stay kooky.
Spooky and kooky, mystery and wonder. Feel the magic under. Spooky and kooky.